Welcome to the Hawks Nest, the home for all your Hawks and NBL news. I'm your host, Glenn Saville. We've got a great show this week. We'll be discussing the state of refereeing the league on the panel with perspectives from our Hawks Nest field correspondent Asa Schuster and Nat Sullivan from andthefoul.net. Now, let's get the show started with a roundup of all the top news stories from around the league. Going into round 6, injuries are starting to pile up around the league with almost every team having one or more players stuck on the sidelines. Melbourne have lost Tommy Greer for 6 to 8 weeks with a pectoral tear, while Sydney will be without Sean Gleeson and James Harvey for at least a week. Shane Hill has said he won't be rushing either player back at this time of year. Townsville have lost Mirko Jeric for 4 to 6 weeks to a hamstring tear, and the Hawks are down a big man with Larry Davidson out for at least a month after he sprained his ankle. Coming back from injury this week for Perth is big man Matt Knight, who was injured during the pre-season. Sticking with Perth news, former Wildcats legend James Crawford is going to be entered into the Basketball Hall of Fame. The Alabama Slammer played 504 games in a 17-year career in the NBL that saw him play for 3 clubs and win 3 NBL championships with Perth in 1990, 91 and 95. Crawford is a third on the list of all-time NBL scoring and rebounds and second in block shots. Legend of the game and Hall of Fame inductee Ian Davis has passed away recently. Davis was a foundation member of the Launceston Casino City Club in 1980, and he led that club to a championship in 1981. He also scored the first basket for the Sydney Kings, a three-pointer in that team's season opening game, as well as representing Australia in the 1980 and 84 Olympic Games. Davis still holds the all-time NBL record for three-pointers, made in a single game, knocking down a remarkable 13 trays for the Newcastle Falcons in a game against the St Kilda Saints in 1985. He's the first Australian Basketball Hall of Famer to pass away. He was 57. Townsville's Russell Hinder has announced he will retire at the end of the season. Hinder was at the forefront of the rally to ensure the Crocs stayed in the NBL at the beginning of the year, having already been left without a club twice following the demise of the Pirates and the Kings. Good on you, Rusty. In Hawks news, the boys will be out for revenge this weekend when they take on the Perth Wildcats at home after they were savaged by Perth on the road in round 4. It's going to be tough going for the Hawks with Larry Davidson on the bench, so make sure you get down to the Wynn Entertainment Centre and help them bring the fight. It's Family Fun Day Sunday with tip-off at 2 p.m. It's also the Hawks' annual Pink Game, raising money for the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Get your tickets at ticketek.com.au. Now, let's have a look at the results from round 5 and the ladder standings so far. Welcome back to the show. First up on this week's panel, we have Hawks Nest field correspondent Asa Schuster and from andthefoul.net, Nat Sullivan. Welcome, boys. Where's my memo about wearing baseball caps? Should I be covering up this loaf or something?
I'm not going to say that, but that's up to you if you think you
I've got a huge dome. We won't get a hat on it. It's like an orange on a toothpick. Anyway, Nat, 6 rounds into the season, there's been the changes with the referees. What are your thoughts on that, and what are your thoughts still on the standard of the refereeing?
It's been pretty inconsistent. There'll be some calls where you'll get smashed in the lane, and next one where a simple, just a small hand check, not even a hand check, and all of a sudden it's a foul, unspawns like a foul sometimes on just trying to stop a breakaway layup. You just want consistency. That's all you want, and they're not really providing it. Some games are good, and the players are adjusting. I think it's opening up the lane a lot more. You see AJ Ogilvy just dominating at the moment. Big men are dominating. The NBL is a big man league now. It used to be a small man's league. You look at every team now, they're just big man dominated.
It's the best 6-8 league in the world, right?
Yeah. But, so players are adjusting, but the refs are just so inconsistent still at the moment.
What are your thoughts, mate?
I think the refs have been sensational. They've cleaned up the ruck. The play of the ball's a lot quicker. We haven't had any 7th tackle tries.
About basketball.
Oh, they are. NBL. Oh. All right, cool. First of all, I just want to say thanks for having me in the nest with you.
This is the nest.
Thank you. This is a plush little nest you got.
This is.
The refs are inconsistent. This is nothing new. The positive is that at the start of the season, they said they're going to clean up the handcuffing, the hacking that we had the last 2 years. It was out of control.
What Hollywood Mel call it? Greco-Roman wrestling?
That's it.
So it's no longer there.
Not really. The game seems a bit more fluid, a bit more up and down. So in that aspect, it's been good. But yeah, there's still some bonehead calls that drive fans mad.
So we're always going to come back to the standard of the refereeing. If they're going to throw all these changes in, so that still needs to be improved year in, year out, right?
Yeah, definitely. And fans just want, if there's some sort of mistake or whatever made on the referee's part, like the obvious one with Jesse Wagstaff and the Hawks over in Perth the other week, the fans just want it reviewed publicly. And if the ref stuffed up, they just want to come out and say, "Hey, my bad."
It's 3 refs out there. Everyone knew that shot definitely should have counted. All the players started just walking to the bench. The only person that thought it did count was Jesse Wagstaff and I think Tim Mills. He walked to the bench signalling like this, like, if there's 3 guys out there, surely that can't happen, right?
Especially when a guy at home has the freeze frame
screenshot.
and
can
simply do that on the phone, seriously.
Right.
And they said that they couldn't see the angle, but the screenshots on Twitter from what they would have seen, and it's obvious. Like, Jesse Wagstaff didn't even have the ball and went 0.
Yeah, well, we're the ones that I could only see. And because I was so good with refs when I played, right?
Well, I was going to...
I know people that
Why isn't Sad blowing up more? He used to blow up on the court all the time.
Well, we had the foul with Gruber last week at the end of the game, which was a bit of a ticky-tack foul. Most of the Hawks fans are pretty irate, saying, it's a nothing foul at all. And I don't know if you saw, but the way Gruber handled it was impressive because he actually didn't really argue the call. And I couldn't tell if he's a genuinely nice guy and doesn't do that.
This is the same guy that had a ball pegged off his forehead a couple of years
Exactly.
ago and didn't punch Brad Robbins. So
He's a gentleman. Maybe too much. And or if he was actually bemused by the call, but he copped it and walked off. When I was going to ask you, that's a hard thing to do. How do you just cop a foul like that? That was his 5th foul.
Oh, I always knew you just get to the point where the whistle starts going to the mouth that they're going to give you a T-bone, and that's when you know just to let it go. But I would have been exactly the same in that situation, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Crickets. There's crickets in here. All right, so the refereeing, Daryl Corletto has come out with some very interesting comments saying that the NBL and or Basketball Australia have changed these rules to stop the Breakers from winning another championship. What's going on?
Well, I don't know if they were going to win anyway. So,
right.
I really like Daryl Corletto. Every time I hear his name, I need to have a Cornetto ice cream. I don't know if I can say that on here, but he's just done it now. Now I need an ice cream, so well done, Corletto. But no, Twitter is a fertile ground to breed stupidity. So that's just one of those examples, I guess.
He did come back. He did come back to a few people talking on Twitter saying to read the whole article, and he was trying to be as honest as he could. But that was his statement that they've actually done this to stop them from winning a championship. Now, from my point of view, Perth play the exact same style of basketball. They play an up-tempo style. They play very physical. They're 6-0 at the moment, and that's the difference. And minus Cedric Jackson and minus Dylan Boucher, one of your veterans. That's the difference from my point of view.
Well, I thought if anyone would have any trouble trying to, change the new refereeing style, be Perth, because they played a much more physical game. But New Zealand, new coach, two new imports, a down a vet. CJ Bruton's another 20 years older. That's the reason why they're just not as good as what they were previous season. And he's trying to say that the refs are targeting Mika and Thomas Abercrombie and whatever. And Mika, that's just the way he plays. He needs to adjust. He needs to stop playing as physical. They're not. You look at all the fouls he's been called on. They're not stupid fouls. They're telling him what not to do, and he just keeps on doing it. So there's no conspiracy. It's not like the NBL doesn't have billions of dollars pumped into it, run by some mafia dude. No, there's no conspiracy here. If anything,
get some kickbacks for the Hawks.
If anything, the NBL want the Breakers to be successful because they've got such a large following. You want teams like Perth to be big because it's such a large following. You want the bigger markets, Sydney, Melbourne, and you want a whole country to be big, New Zealand. So if anything, the NBL, if there was a conspiracy, it would be to make them better than what they are. But they just suck at the moment. So.
Something big that happens or had happened in Adelaide, back to New Zealand, New Zealand. Some players got thrown out, and Hollywood Mel comes out with a report saying they got it all wrong. Do we want more of this stuff coming out for the refs explaining that they have issues?
The review panel is a good idea. It's what a lot of people ask for something like that, where it shows some kind of accountability for getting calls right and wrong. But the thing with the NBL is, like, realistically, you could have them coming out every week saying they got a call wrong, and they don't want that.
Yeah.
So perhaps they should have some kind of little press release each week saying just some dot points on some calls that were dubious.
Well, the one that we were talking about, that was a very big one, and that
Yep.
obviously needed to be commented on. And
It's good they actually admitted
Yeah.
that it got out of control. Calls were made past the point of what they should have been. I think the NBL referee review panel should have an independent review, such as us. We should review
be us
them.
three.
No, we should be reviewing the NBL referee panel, because we're just going to get company statements once every how many weeks they have a massive stuff up. And the other thing I want to say is, back in the NFL last year, we had replacement referees for the first start of the year. Now, the NBL feels like we have replacement referees the whole time. It's just there's not a confidence in them. So it's a tough situation for them to work in. People are constantly on them. So it's good they've actually started making progress with that.
well, yeah, let's see. Look at other sports in the NRL. The referees are constantly copping it from fans and from coaches of teams and all that kind of stuff. So I guess they need to be held a little bit more accountable, because this is the best competition we've got to offer here. So why shouldn't we be getting stuck into a little bit more?
I think you have to look at as well. The NBL refs it's not their full-time job. You look at other codes and other leagues around the world, it's their full-time jobs. NBL refs, it's not their full-time job. So you can argue that they don't have the time and the energy to I guess review every single little bad call that's made in every single game.
Anything else we want to raise out here tonight? Have we bashed the refs enough? Do we want to move on to
It's
anything else?
It's not good to be talking about the refs.
No, not
too
the entire
much.
time, but
Yeah, no, it's not.
I'm
not
hosting the show, and everyone like mentioned how
I just want
great
to see
was.
Mao's moustache back in the court.
The cookie duster.
Oh yeah, I want to see it flowing in the wind as he runs down.
Good. You could add your own 30-minute show on just Sav's ref talk, just
Yeah.
paying out refs.
Yeah, no, I think I'm past that, to tell you the truth. Boys, well, yes, we have bashed the refs enough, and that's what we're going to do. This entire panel is all about that. Let's not have that every single week. Thanks for coming on. I'll bring my baseball cap next week.
There you go.
That's all we have.
That's our show for this week. We'll be back with a new show on the 7th of December. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and to join our Dream Team group. At the moment, it's mostly the Hawks Nest crew battling it out against each other, so it would be great to have you on board as well. You can find the link in the show notes. A reminder that it's also not too late to grab tickets to see the Hawks take on the Perth Wildcats this Sunday. It's Family Fun Day Sunday, and remember, pink is the new red. Get your tickets at tickettech.com.au. I'm Glenn Saville, you've been watching the Hawks Nest, and we'll see you next time.